Were you able to zoom in and get that sea lion?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just want to show you how easily things get messy. So today my dad is swinging through town. He's gonna speak somewhere tomorrow. But in the meantime, we're gonna grab some lunch, and I've got some questions for him, so he's got answers. All right.
How you doing? Good.
My dad's going to Costco to drop off his car so we can take my van.
Better?
Yeah. You got everything you need?
Yeah, a little dessert there.
Hey, it's tomorrow. I just wanted to jump in real quick and say the rest of the vlog is a little bit different tempo. My dad is just a wealth of inspiration and information, and I wanted to share some of what we had in our conversation. Hopefully you find it inspiring. I know it really helps clear up in my mind why I'm doing what I'm doing and where I got that from. So, back to yesterday. And if I ask you some questions, Dad?
Yeah.
Do you remember when I was looking for work? I just got back from China, and you were working on your documentary with Kevin.
And I thought you might get involved with that a little bit.
Yeah. And I wanted to, I always knew I wanted to do film, but
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel like I could.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure why. I think it was maybe, I don't know, you had a sense of responsibility that you had to, well, you still had some student loans.
Yeah.
And you probably felt like you needed to get those paid. But there's also just the kind of normal expectations. You're going to have a job. Fun stuff is for after work and for the weekend and stuff.
Yeah. When you've gone through life, how have you treated life that way?
Well, okay, first I didn't want to go to college, and so then, when Mom and Dad kind of pushed on me to go to college, well, then I was like, okay, I'm going to take classes that I liked, and so I was taking auto mechanics and welding. I really loved welding, and then I was like, oh man, I'm sick of college, and so I got this year off with the service learning program, and I volunteered in South Africa, and that was really fun. I was doing work in South Africa, but I loved the kind of work I was doing. I loved the repair, I loved innovating, and I loved the people there in South Africa. So then I came back and focused, okay, I'm going to be a shop teacher.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to still be doing stuff I love, and it'll be my job. I wanted to do it back in Africa because you really felt like you were making a difference. And I think that's a big deal. You got to feel like you're making a difference. You're doing something you love and you're making a difference. And so it was crazy, Mom and I was 23, she was 22. We got married 6 weeks later. We're in Zimbabwe, and I get introduced as the new boss, and I'm like, what? How can I be the boss? But we were doing stuff. I had so much fun working with those guys, I think that's part of it too. You get a team, and then you get something you're really having fun doing. I was just always involved in something that I really felt was you could see the difference you were making, and you loved doing it in the process. And after Rwanda, going and being a chaplain and a pastor, that one I never saw coming. But when I was on a high school campus and kids are searching to try to figure out what they believe and what matters, and I had just been through the genocide, and so there was a lot of my own sorting out what you believe and what matters, and that made a big difference in that job.
Do you feel like you raised us to do what we love, or?
When I broke from a regular job 10 years ago to do this traveling around to schools, that's when, it really was like, wow, you are giving up a salary, you are, the security of a salary, and the bigger wow was Mom was okay with it. But I think in doing that and experiencing it, then when you came back from New Zealand and you were thinking about looking at another kind of 9 to 5 job, and I'm like, man, you do not have mortgage or all these other, and you love photography. Why are you going to this 9 to 5 job?
I know. I felt like you would have been disappointed if I did.
Well, yeah, because I really want you. It makes a difference when you're doing something you love.
Yeah, no,
you
and
know?
I'm grateful.
We settle for less way too often, and I think that's why I was really excited when you talked about fixing up a van. I mean, even the idea, I remember when you called me and said, hey, I'm thinking about a sailboat, and I don't know what you were expecting me to say, but I was like, yeah, try it, do that. I got this friend Michael, he's living in Baltimore Harbor on a sailboat.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big thing too, is when you see other people, hey, this is doable. There's so many things that it's just sort of expected.
Yeah.
And we don't, and we just go along with what's expected. And you see somebody else and you're like, well, yeah, why not?
What do you think though, like, if someone is afraid of pursuing their passion, like, what would you tell them?
Some sort of a safety net isn't a bad thing. Some people are like, I gotta get my kid out of the house, he just thinks he's gonna live here rent free, and I never had that sense. You guys, hey, come home, live here for 3-6 months, whatever. And I think providing that safety net that we could provide, hey, here's the old Honda, you need to drive this for a couple of weeks or a month or 3 months, whatever.
How do you get out of complacency?
I think when you don't believe in yourself, that's really hard.
Yeah.
You don't believe that you're capable of certain things. And I've seen that, I've seen that up close with some people. But if we look around and we start being really affirming of people around us, hey, you did a really good job. I like that sketch. Hey, you really, the way you handled that situation, finding ways to affirm people is something we can all do. I think part of it is just getting off your rear and going out and experiencing things. And I think we're wired for community and we're wired for purpose.
Yeah.
So you start the day and you're watching TV and there's no real purpose and your community is the TV.
Yeah.
And it just stinks. But then you get out and you interact with a real person, and then you start helping somebody with their project, instead of, well, what am I going to do? What am I going to make or anything else? How can I help you, with your project? And so I think those are two things that help me. They're a real powerful lens, community and purpose. And even during the genocide, that was a big deal there. People were saying, why didn't you just give up, or things like that? And I'm like, well, the mission was too strong. It was right there. Those kids needed water. And there were other people who were doing enormous, acts of courage and service. And so that community and that purpose, I think those are really key to getting us off the couch, getting us back engaged in real life. I think we like real stuff. We like something that we can connect with. And that is real community. So don't I get to hold the camera?
Okay, I think I hit the right button.
Let me make
Does
sure.
that look right?
Yeah, it looks good.
Is there something about a friend or community that vaccinate you against falling in a rut?
I think, I forget which book it was, but someone said you're the average of your 5 closest friends.
Huh.
So deciding who those are really defines who you are.
You worked in China, you were in New Zealand for a year. Are any of those different experiences that really kind of helped solidify something that, maybe you sort of made a bit of a right angle turn or something?
I think, growing up in Africa and traveling with your mom, Mindy, and Lisa was...
As a little kid,
that just kind of opened my eyes to what was possible. It made sense that once I was in college and had these opportunities to travel, you guys supported me, and it was easy for me to make those decisions.
Well, that's what I was wondering, if it was a big, tough decision to go to Spain for a year.
No, No, it wasn't. And you made it easier because you're like, well, yeah, we probably have some air miles. We can get you a ticket there, and that. And then the big turning point though was after college, thinking I needed to get into the workforce right away.
Yeah.
And drove all the way down with all my stuff to
That's
Irvine.
right.
Spent one afternoon in traffic and decided it wasn't for me. Lisa was already in Taiwan, or she was in China, I think, at that point. And I casually just floated the idea, like, hey, is there any work over there I could do?
Wow.
And then 2 weeks later, I was on a plane.
Even if you didn't use any of this footage, this has been fun.
Yeah.
You know, this is some meaningful conversation, and we don't always have meaningful conversation.
No.
You know, some of these questions I've never asked you.
Yeah.
And,
it's almost a little uncomfortable.
Yeah. Well, and of course, there's something that I like about that too. I like the thought processes that you've been going through, and that you're still going through. That's good. That's good medicine for me, because we can just drift.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what you were talking about before, complacency. It's fun. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it was fun. It is fun.
And it will be fun.
And it will be fun.
Look over there. You got Mount Hood over there. You got, I don't know what that other, it's not really a mountain, but you got the sunlight and the snow hitting it, and you got the bird, and you got the wind blowing.